My name is Scott Houle, and I'm the owner of Coastal, voice director, engineer, and do various and sundry assorted other items, such as empty the trash. Originally Austin, Texas. It's my home state. I love Texas. I originally came to Wilmington to get involved in the film industry. I lived in New York, I lived in Boston, I lived in Chicago, I lived in Detroit. I lived on the road for about 20 years in various bands, but all doing musician as well as audio, and eventually wanted to settle down with a recording studio to get into film work. And I did some of that in New York, and also went back to Austin for a while and did a little bit of that. I think I'd had my fill of the big metropolis scene, but most of those commanded the film industry. And when I heard about Wilmington, it sounded perfect. East Coast LA, so to speak, and wonderful setting. I'd been through Wilmington on a tour with a band once and fell in love with it. And so picked up all my belongings and knew nobody and moved to Wilmington. I've done a lot of ADR. Been doing ADR for about 10 years, I guess. For those that don't know what ADR is, it's automatic dialogue replacement. Worked with Anthony Hopkins, Jim Carrey, Matthew Broderick, blah, 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 blah. Go to the website, check it out. Let's see, what was the date? I just looked up the date a little while ago. 1994, August 5th. I had a guy walk in here with a VHS box that had all kind of different colored cartoons on it. And he was looking for somebody to do ADR on Japanese animation. And this guy's name was, let's see if I can remember, it's Robert Woodhead. I immediately thought, man, this guy's quite a character. And also was... And I'm not greasing you, Robert, but at the very beginning, I felt that this guy was very intelligent. But he also knew what he wanted, which I was attracted to. And I told him I'd take a look at it. I was doing quite a bit of ADR at the time. And this is the first time I'd ever seen Japanese animation, or anime. And I fell in love with it immediately, overnight. So they called me back up and said, what do you think? And I said, let's give it a shot. We did Rupon 3, which is the Lupin movies. And of course, Animego stuck to the agreement that was originally asked for by the family that owned the rights, that they don't use the Lupin. So we called it Rupon. It was Rupon 3, the Fuma Conspiracy. And that was the first one I did, and it was a ball. Absolutely a gas. I enjoyed every minute of it. All right, let's see, schooling. Schooling is, I was one of those odd wads. I did not do very well in public school. And so my folks sent me to Catholic school, which I did even worse in. I actually studied to be a priest for about 6 years, almost 6 years. As far as going to the Catholic school, I didn't do very well. And so my folks decided maybe I need a private type of situation. So they sent me to the University of Michigan Experimental School, which is the best thing that ever happened to me. All of a sudden went from flunking to all A's and B's. And they were offering essentially compelling subjects. They were making you work. They'd give you computers to take home and say, oh, what do you like here? Testing your abilities. And from there, I was scholarship to the Interlochen Arts Academy for a couple years, which also was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And it was a tremendous, tremendous type of motivation. At a young age. By the time I got out of that, I had already been through all of my years of high school, I think by the time I was 15 or 16, and decided it was time to hit the road. So I immediately left home and went out and join a rock and roll band. And in fact, I'd like to mention the name of this. There's very few people that know of it, but the ones that do go, oh my God, you were in. It's a band called The Up out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Headed by John Sinclair, and the MC5 were part of the organization. Iggy Pop and the Stooges lived behind us, and they were part of the organization. And I think I was in that for about 6 years or so, in the giant commune. And then decided I needed to go on the road with more bands, so I did that for a number of years. But at the same time, experimenting with the latest studio gear that came out. I always wanted to record. I always wanted to see if I could get the pristine audio on tape, and it was very interesting to me. I was always interested in that. I think I made my first recording machine, my actual first recording machine, when I was 8. I found a piece of aluminum, cut some holes in it, put some record heads in it, and put some reels on it. Had no brakes. I put a turntable motor on it, a record player motor, and so it went really, really fast, but it recorded great. So I've always wanted to record, and of course now I'm doing it digitally, which is I think the best thing that ever happened to to studios. Now here's the unique situation about that. We did the first 4 episodes 6 years ago. And we, of course, we always wanted to do the series, and it's been out for a while. So when I finally got a call asking if we'd like to do the series, a lot of the prep had already been done, so to speak. We knew that we didn't know, but we were pretty sure we could get the same actors, and that's the uniqueness of it, is that 6 years later we actually could get all of the same actors except one, and. If I was going into a different series that I hadn't touched before, which is more the story, you'd start with character breakdown, character analysis first. That way you know what you've got going into your auditions. That's very important. Your characters and your auditions will make or break a whole entire series. So if you shortchange that aspect of it, then you're going to run into problems, somewhere around the 3rd or 4th episode, where you realize that, gee, I really believe that this character has to have more of this type of personality. They're not interacting with this other character as well as I'd hoped, simply because you didn't spend quite enough time on auditions. And I think that's very, very important. And You're Under Arrest, it was a breeze because we had the same cast, and I was delighted with that. There is a story behind that, which I'll tell you. And that is that Joanne Lozado, who originally played Miyuki, absolutely loved that role. She still says today that was the best time in her life, was doing Miyuki. And she was absolutely dying that she couldn't come back excuse me, and reprise that role 6 years later. But she was just getting married, she'd gotten a great job, blah, blah, blah. She'd moved out of town some time ago. And so the person that stepped in turned out to be, 6 years ago, Joanne's best friend. And also Joanne had originally turned her on to Coastal to do Belle Dandy and Oh My Goddess, which of course is Juliet Cesario. And not only are they best friends and they turned each other on to different jobs, but they sound a whole lot alike. When I had Tamara come in, who plays Natsumi, she came in second after I had put down some stuff with Juliet. And she said, when she first heard it, she said, "Oh my God, I'm getting chill bumps. I think I hear Joanne." And it was just a very fateful thing, the way that all turned out. And plus Juliet has a very nice, solid fan base from the Belle Dandy thing. Plus she made a very, very nice transition. Belle Dandy and Miyuki are two totally different characters. But she made a really nice transition, and she didn't have what's called transference. She didn't bring Belle Dandy into Miyuki. Me personally, which character do I most personally identify with in You're Under Arrest? That's a tough one. I would probably say Takairan. I don't even know why that comes to mind. I hadn't even thought about it. Takairan. I think Takairan. He's I think he's well educated. He doesn't like to spout a lot. He likes to kind of keep to his own. He gets the job done. I guess that would be my choice. Strike Man. No, Takairan. I'm nothing like Strike Man. I would love to be. Oh, here's the obvious. Kenny and Miyuki would get together, for Christ's sakes. You know, this is going on and on. Now, I haven't seen the third series, obviously, that's going on in Japan right now, but I hope that somewhere in there they did, I would like to see them do it and then insinuate to everybody and then not say another word, drive everybody crazy. Well, obviously, that would have to do with fluctuating decibels. That would be a cross. Right off the bat, I would probably say Strike Man, except for the fact that Strike Man is generally always loud. So you can always, pretty much, second guess the fact that Strike Man's next line is going to be loud. He's very boisterous. He's very out. A nice pad on the mic. Keep it like that. But that's not so tough if you know it's coming. Nakajima, Kenny, has a lot of fluctuations. He has to change in the middle of a line. He has to change from, oh my God, I don't, bang. And you have to know his personality. You have to know Mark Matney personally. You have to know his acting style. You have to always have a finger on the fader. You have to pretty much know what he's going to do and split second guess him out before he does it. But it's worked really well, I think, because of that. Mark Matney goes way back to the first one. He was Inspector Zenigata in Rupon, and has been in almost every single one of our productions since then. So we have a pretty good rapport as far as director, actor, engineer type relationship. As at Coastal, the directors, as you've gotten in Pamela's interview, I'm sure, are in fact the session engineer at the same time. I think that's very important. I think the director needs to know not only the aspects of the show. They need to know, of course, what a good director would have to know, how to put it together. They need to know in their mind what they want the other people to be reacting to on that line. But they also need to know the technical end of, is this going to work on my timeline? Is this going to work buttered right up against the next line? Is it going to sound like everybody's in the same room? Have we got the right room tones going on? Is it going to match? Is it going to all sound like there's a group out there? And so I think it's very important that the director is also the engineer. It's a luxury. I say a luxury. Actually, it's not a luxury, but in my mind it is. A lot of people I think would say, "Oh, that's ridiculous." I need somebody to be doing this. I need somebody to be doing that. I've tried having an engineer. And I think I'm just the type that is going to go back in and redo everything after the engineer's gone just to make sure it's right. And in most cases, it was, But I'm just that kind of person. And I've thought about that question before. The hardest segment of any episode for myself and the actor to pull off and get through actually is not in the TV series. It's in the first 4 OAVs. It was the episode, and it was such a touching scene. Both of us really, really wanted to get it right. That was the scene where Miyuki breaks down because she knows that Natsumi is leaving her, but she doesn't want Natsumi to know that she's breaking down because of that. She wants Natsumi to, progress and feel good about progression. but she's afraid that she's really going to miss Natsumi and she's not going to be able to go on feeling the loss of Natsumi. And she's in the garage with the car today, which is the name of the car. She's putting, actually she's taking Natsumi's motorcycle out of the back of the car. And she's trying her best not to cry. Kenny comes in and says, "What are you doing?" She says, "Oh, I was just taking Natsumi's motorcycle out of the car." And then for her saying that line was the cue for her admitting it to herself what she was doing, and had to get very misty. And Kenny all of a sudden stops being the goofy Kenny, comes over and puts his arm around her, and says that he feels very very bad for her, but tries to support her and says, you're doing the right thing. And she says she knows. Her voice has got to get all quivery and quavy, and she's got to have some tears, and that's got to show through in the voice. Well, this is the first time that Miyuki's ever done this. And Joanne Lozado was on board at that time. Did an absolutely brilliant job. Absolutely brilliant. She pulled it off in one take, which surprised both of us. And we didn't piece it together. She went right from the head. It goes for about 30 seconds, which is a lot of dialogue, and went right through. And Kenny's lines had not been in place yet, so she was imagining Kenny's lines. And when Kenny came in, he was astounded, because he said that performance really, really helped his deliveries. And going into that scene, I anticipated that scene probably for a good 2 weeks, thinking this is going to be the toughest scene I've ever been through. And I know you asked me which one was the toughest, and I kind of gave you, something that I anticipated as being the toughest, but it really wasn't. In this series, there really hasn't been any tough scenes. The kids, now we did, let's see, which one was it? It was with the general and the stage play and all the little kids. We had to bring in some 20 kids and put them in the main room to get the group of kids. Now that was tough for obvious reasons. But the kids, once again, just shined. They just showed natural ability. There was a lot of the don't touch the microphone, and I didn't want to say things like calm down, because I don't want them to calm down. I want them to stay boisterous little kids, and they did an absolutely brilliant job. Pamela was out doing kid wrangling in the main room while I was engineering and being the voice of God behind the window. Oz. So it all came out very well, but that was a tough day. It showed patience as, Uncle Scotty and Aunt Pamela. Leave him alone. You move over there. Okay, now a lot of it was prep, I think. What equipment do I use? All right. I like this. I get to show you all my toys here. We're going to start first with something I'm really proud of, the console, as people call the Star Trek console. That it actually took me a year to design this console. There's a cool company out there. I won't use the name, but there's a cool company out there that designs the consoles for NASA and other, people like that. And they also offer a very cool program that you can download that gives you 3D visions of up inside the console. You can switch out the different components in the console and design your own. So it took me about a year to realize that since I'm directing, engineering, mixing everything at once, I need to have kind of a wraparound situation and to have hands-on to everything. That's the console. Now, the heart of it obviously would be the industry standard. I really believe in Pro Tools. Pro Tools is the industry standard in just about, I don't want to be a salesman for them, so I'll just leave it at that. They are the industry standard. I also use the Mackie Huey, they call it a Huey, which is human interface, human user interface. It's completely automated. When I run a little bit of this program, you can see the faders moving by themselves. That's very, very useful. You can edit in a heartbeat. I use a very different mic than a lot of people use for ADR. When I was working with with Skywalker, those boys are unbelievably sharp. I think I was working on the Young Indiana Jones series that was shooting here in town. I was doing the ADR for it. And I sent my first records into Skywalker, and head of post-pro called me back that afternoon. And he said, okay, you're using a Neumann U87 in a cedar room that's probably about 20 by 30. Just from what he heard. And I could not believe that I was hearing that. I said, you are dead on. He said, well, that's why I do what I'm doing. He said, now, let me suggest something to you. Neumann U87 is somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000. He said, lose the expensive mic, you don't need it. Those are what you use for a commercial, a voiceover, or a VO. He said, what we're trying to do is marry natural sound to picture. He said, no matter how low you bring that mic, you'll never marry it to picture. He said, go get yourself a Shure SM81. He said, that is the flattest ruler flattest mic on the planet. What you hear is what you get. It doesn't colorize anything. Costs about $250 to $300. He said, you get one of those, all your stuff's going to work. And I got one of those. He loved the rest of the stuff I did for him, and I've used it ever since. The 888 Pro Tools interface, of course, using a G4 with a Fuse video card in it. The Fuse video is great. Real quick, simple digital video. We digitize all the video in so I can get instant access, because we've got actors coming in here one right after another 7 days a week. We can't afford a lot of setup time, and so we can instantly access show by show or location by location. Say somebody just leaves the room, you got somebody else in the lobby waiting. They come in, put on the headphones, you get a sound check, and they need to go right to this point. Bang, you're right there. I've got a camera pointed at the actor in the room. I've got video feed from the Fuse card. Both of those are split screen. I can bring one up bigger or smaller, or put one behind another, format the screen. And I've also got my mic, their mic, and the stereo M&E, music and effects tracks, going at the same time. So the viewer, even though they're sitting at home or at the friend's house watching this DVD, they really get a feeling. They know exactly what's going on, and they can actually feel like they're under the headphones with the actor. They get to, it's really neat. In fact, I watch the actor's face. Before I was doing anime, I always had a camera out. Say if Jim Carrey came in, have a camera on their face, because I stay out of the way. I want to give them the whole room. They've got a 20 by 30 foot room out there. I want them to have the whole room. I don't want to be a voice director standing next to them, or an ADR director going, let's try it like this. I want them to feel like they're kind of in charge of their performance. So I'm seeing the side of their face. They like that too, because they don't see somebody staring at them. Now if they want to talk to me all the time, even the actors, the anime actors, turn and look towards the window and we have eye contact. But most of the time they're nicely enclosed in their nice, big spacious world out there. But I still get to see their face, because I have the camera pointed at the front of their face, which they soon forget. I want to know what they're thinking before they go into that line. I want to see the expression on their face. I want to know if they're interpreting the mood or the scene correctly. And more times than not, I know exactly why they delivered like that just by seeing their expressions before they go into the delivery. And at the end of their line, I'll say, I had a thought. They're not mad yet, because this is a transitional line going between realization, it hitting them, and then them getting mad. So they don't get mad until the very end of the line as they're realizing what they're saying. And they wonder, how did you know that one? It was written all over your face. They start into the line like, and I know right away they're going to come out mad. Well, it's not mad yet. Because it wasn't one of those, it's a transition. So I know watching, a lot of times I'll just watch the camera. And so it makes the job a lot easier. As far as equipment, again, Alesis M1 monitors, also ruler flat. I don't want any of my equipment to lie to me. Some of this stuff is inexpensive, some of it's very expensive, but I think the combination is package I can depend on. So, simply because of where the character wanted to pull you at the beginning on auditions. At the very beginning, I was thinking to myself, okay, logistically, Aoi is a man. Aoi should sound like a man, but be totally effeminate and be, in his own mind, the most beautiful female in the room. I mean, that's essentially Aoi's description, if you were looking at it from Aoi's side. And so I was really thinking, gosh, you know, we really ought to get a guy that relates to the part. And I had several that would just give their front teeth if they could have done Aoi. And that's when you really need the whole series in front of you. That's when you need each episode to watch and see how it progresses. Which sometimes going into series, I don't get the whole series. I get just the starting episode. That's tough. That's frightening. Luckily, I think I've made some of the right decisions in some of those others. But this one I would have really run into some problems if I didn't have all of it up front. Realized that Aoi really does, that's part of the humor in it, is the fact that she has a beautiful female voice. And the main point, and this is what I had to keep telling the actress that did it, the main point is we need to have the audience completely forget all the time that Aoi is a man. They must forget. They must never even think about it until it's brought up. Because every once in a while somebody will bring it up and the audience goes, that's right. That's the gig right there. To have the audience go like it's hitting them for the first time. It's a shocker every time it hits them. So we need them to completely forget that she's a man. And I think that was the hardest role to fill. Went through quite a few auditions as well as internal pushing and pulling in my own mind during auditions. And I think we went through quite a few auditions, and then I threw my hands up and said, for some reason, I'm still not putting my own personal thumb on this. And I went back and started looking at later episodes and finally some of the ending episodes, and spent a lot of time in my own mind developing the English character. And that's when it hit me. Reading scripts for hours upon hours, going through the Aoi lines, and a lot of her lines are filler lines. They give her very few lines. She's generally in the background going, well, I think that's nice. You know, well, aren't they sweet? You know, all that, all that, all that. And that's why. It's because you're supposed to totally forget that this guy is a guy. And that's when I realized, okay, we got to get a girl in here, and she's just got to be able to pull off this really smooth voice, maybe just slightly, every once in a while, a little husk will come out. And I think we did very well with Amy Tipton. Amy did a great job. And what's funny about that, here's another pro that didn't let transference get in the way, because she did a role, which I won't say for which episodes or what show, but we did a series, 25 episodes, where she played a kick-butt Chinese girl. And I mean, this girl was tomboy all the way, just what, yelling all the time. 1,000% the opposite of Aoi. And here she comes in and does Aoi with no problem at all. And I thought that was a job well done. Very difficult. My secret pleasure. My secret pleasure. My secret pleasure, believe it or not, is when I'm not working here, which is all the time. I'm here 7 days a week, probably 12 hours a day on an average. But when I'm not doing that, I actually get to relax and chill out, doing things with my hands. Building privacy fences, you know, building decks, building my website, you know, things like that. I'm kind of a workaholic, and I don't know how to just sit. Just sitting drives me absolutely ballistic. Okay, company calls me up and says, would you be interested in bidding? And generally, you can never tell if, generally if they call you, then you wonder if it's really a bidding situation or if that's just protocol. But obviously, if you bid too high, you're not going to get it. So you're going to bid, you're going to haggle a little bit about the contracts. There's pretty much, I'd like to see a little bit more of an industry standard across the board, but hey, I don't think there is in making aspirin. So you haggle the contracts. The next step, obviously, is to map out a schedule. I mean, time is money. Everybody knows that. And everybody would like to see it done as quickly as possible. Now, there's two sides to this production coin, obviously. I think you've got time is money, let's get it done as quickly as possible, and then you've got artistic quality, does it have shelf life? Okay, coming from my point of view, I'm a voice director, but I also understand the time is money thing. I understand the business end of it. I understand that, yes, indeed, these companies have got distributors that they have a deadline with. You know, they've got printers to deal with. They've got the Japanese licensors to deal with as well. So, you know, there's all kinds of you know, timelines that have to hit right. But I'm really, really torn on the fact that shelf life is the biggest seller. Shelf life, and it's already been proven time and time again as the formats change. Okay, what's going to happen after DVD? There's going to be a whole new format. If your show is still standing up, it's going to go to the new format. If it doesn't, if it was just a quick sale item, then it's not. It's going to only make money one time around. And so it's really got to have some heart and soul into it. You really got to spend time making the people fall in love with it and want to see it again and again, or else it doesn't contain shelf life. There's a lot of prep stuff that people don't understand. You can't just get materials and call in your actor the next day. You've got to reformat the scripts. You've got to basically in your mind, if not on paper, this is a big difference between Coastal and a lot of other companies. We do not rewrite the ADR script before we start production. I think that's folly for us. I'm not going to say that's folly for anybody else because I've seen some really good shows out there done the other way. I like to get my actors a little bit more involved, the actors that really, really want to. I throw a little rope out there, give them a little leeway, and the ones that want to will run with it. Most of them will run with it. It's my job to give the rope a little tug back when it goes too far. It's also my job to realize if somebody isn't really hitting the character right, then maybe I should handle the writing from that point on and diplomatically push it that way. Surprisingly enough, a lot of my actors, once they get into character, they're pretty much dead on. Especially in a series. You know, you go through 5, 10 shows, being a lead character. You know, who's going to tell you, you know, how they would deliver a certain line after they've done it for 10 shows? You know, look at shows like Ram the One Half. You know, I mean, that's what, a 5-year production or something. You know, these actors are sleeping, breathing, living this stuff. You know, they're living their character. Okay, you're going to get materials in, you're going to get the scripts done, you're going to get the tapes done. I also give all of my actors scripts and tapes at least a week prior to coming in. This is also, I think, different than a lot of, you know, in the way it's done in a lot of other companies. That way, the ones that care to, which, again, I'm pleased that most do, care to sit down and really watch it and, you know, start developing their character. Then you get the actors in. I get them in on generally 3-hour sessions, and we'll have 2 to 3 3-hour sessions a day. They all go home, and it's you know, in the wee hours, and I'm in here editing the day's work and getting prepared for the next day. So I'll generally leave here about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. sometimes, and start it all up again the next day. After we get done with getting the basic tracks, then comes the fun part. You put together a basic mix, and of course we've got the double studios. In Pamela's studio, she's doing the incidentals and the groups and all of the auditions. Okay, that's networked together with my machine. So when I need her stuff to make sure it's going to work magically, it's working wonderfully. Bring in the incidental, lines that are actually talking with the main actors. Bring them all together. Bring the groups together, all the group loop stuff, rack in the backgrounds and all that. Put a basic mix together, and then out of that basic mix, we decide which lines need to be redone so that they sound like they're in the same show and in the same room and blah, blah, blah. Call the actors back up, book some more sessions, bring them back in for redos. We'll get all the redos done and then see how it sits. Generally, more times than not, we'll have one more set of redos, which we'll call people in and just tweak some things. Maybe tweak the dialogue, maybe tweak the delivery. That also gives us a great opportunity to redo some lines because of maybe some technical things. Maybe somebody yelled and I wasn't quite ready with the fader and I got a little burn on it. The delivery was perfect, the line was perfect, but there's a technical glitch that I have to take care of. So we'll take care of all that little stuff on the third set of redos. Excuse me. Then it comes into the world of mixing. I love mixing. I think probably I'm constantly looking for a way to cut down on the mix time because I think I work a little bit too long on the mixing. I get a little anal with it. And if you got 8 shows to mix, my mixing will take approximately 12 hours per show for a 25-minute episode. I'll be mixing that thing for 12 hours, and more times than not. If you're doing any other projects alongside of that, then of course you've got that many more shows to mix in that given amount of time. So generally I'll go into an 8 to 12 day mix session. And I call it a single session because generally those are 18-hour days, and in the last 36 hours of it to make deadline, there is no sleep. You just do about 36 hours straight and finish up the job. In which case you leave here feeling really good because you're real happy about the whole project, real happy about the mix, real happy about the actors. You're really solid, except you're kind of floating. And on the way home you go, what was that? Oh, that was nothing. So, that's why I don't live far from here. I could probably crawl it if I had to. So then it goes to the producer. You've done all of this, spending a lot of time in the recording, spending a lot of time rewriting the lines, spending a lot of time mixing, and it's not my ball. I didn't pay for it. The producer did. The producer, did all the footwork, went and talked to all the licensors, the stuff that I probably wouldn't be very good at all. I'm glad I do what I do, and I'm glad that you've got somebody that's experienced in what they do. And so the producer, being their ball, they get to take it home and take a good look at it. And they're going to get busy with their laptop going, let's try a little something here. And I think maybe I would rather see this, And obviously, when I first started in the industry, that was the stuff that I would go, I spent all this time, and then the actors are happy with it, I'm happy with it, we should just let it go like it is, And as you get a little bit more into the industry and get a little bit more into understanding who does what and why it's important, and also all the money that's originally laid out for the shows, and what kind of steps and what kind of hoops of fire they have to jump through to obtain a show. Even though they're in the background most of the time, they really have all the rights in the world to make a couple of suggestions. So believe it or not, I'll read a list of suggestions that I get in email and look at them and go, they're right. Yeah, this would be good, and this one would be good. What in the world are they talking about here? Anyway, then it goes through that process. Then when you're sure you've got a done deal, it goes back to the producer, and the producer puts it in the hands of whoever is going to be laying back and making the DVDs. And from that time on, it's their ball. We're on to the next 8. How can a fan become a voice actor. All right, and here's the sad news, as I always say. And it is. I would like to see a lot more dubbing studios. I'd like to see a lot bigger industry in the country. In almost every situation, you have to live locally within the area of the dubbing studio. This is due to two main reasons. The first one, obviously, is budget. The second one is time restraints. A studio has a certain amount of time that they must get from point A to point B and stay on deadline and present it to the producers. We have to call our voice actors up at the drop of a hat and say, we need redos now. We're passing in this final tomorrow afternoon. We have to get 16 lines from various voice actors. We're scheduling them back to back between now and tonight, because tomorrow in the morning we're mixing and getting the first draft to the producer. If you live out of town, obviously this is impossible to do. Can't be done. That's obviously, the gist of it. And unfortunately, I hear people, we take the Dub Your Own show to some of the conventions, and it's a gas. People have a great time, and I actually run into some very talented people. I don't believe that actors take classes and have to live in a community, that has acting and this and that. I've had people walk in off the streets that are absolutely natural actors. Now, here's another fallacy. You cannot live on the money that you're going to make voice acting in anime. Can't do it. You have to have a substantial, way to live, and the money with voice acting will supplement that. How has it warped my brain? Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, I work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day on something that I never put that kind of energy into. I mean, why would I do it? I keep telling myself it must be because I love it. Well, I do. I love the aspects of it and all like that, but I don't watch anime. I mean, I don't go out and get it to watch it because, let's face it, I watch a lot of it. More than anybody else I know, more than anybody that I know at the conventions. Now, I'm sure there are some fans that actually watch more anime than I do, but they watch a variety of it. They don't watch the same show 6,000 times in a row. So I guess that's how it's warped my brain. It's turned me into a vampire that can't go out in the sun anymore. But I do love it. In one word, I can't do it in one word. I can, surprising. In a lot of ways, surprisingly intelligent, because she puts on a facade of being bubbly and up and happy-go-lucky, and a lot of times those people are taken advantage of or trying to run around. But I've seen her work in the studio, and she gets what she wants to get out of people, and sometimes they don't know it. So that's surprising. Yeah, it's You're Under Arrest to me would be an animated, fun action-adventure soap, because it takes daily paths. It brings everybody's characters into view, often. It'll drop something for a while, just like some of the evening serials do. Some of the comic shows, it'll drop somebody's character for a while, and then when you're least expecting it, they'll be the star of the next show. It has a lot of those similarities, but sure, Friends is a good one. I mean, Friends is a good one for a lot of the anime in that genre. But the series is a hoot. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. But when it does, it stays very consistent with the rest of it, even though you don't expect it. And I love Strike Man. I can't get Strike Man out of my mind, especially with Jason doing Strike Man. He just takes it to the nth degree. And probably, would make a lot of people nervous until they see it. He goes over the top and stays there, and he matches the face beautifully. So